I'm Chad Waldo, Regional Sales Manager for Techni WaterJet, and this is Softec. And today we're going to be talking about how we can do some manual nesting. You've seen, hopefully by now, some of our videos on Softec NEST and how wonderful that is for putting multiple parts onto the table and filling them in. But what if you need to make a couple of parts and you need to manually position or nest them without having to use our automatic nesting feature? Let's say, for instance, that on this sheet of aluminum that we have here on the table, that there's a section right through here that's cut out, either because it's just a bad piece of plate or maybe some other parts were made from this section. You can take a tape measure, obviously, to your plate, and you can take a tape measure right in here as well and measure out, how far off you need to be. So if that was about 20 inches on your plate versus coming up this way, maybe another 16. So let's just pretend like we have a 20 by 16 area here that's unusable. How would we get around that if we just needed to put a part on the table and cut it? Well, let's do that. Let's make a brand new part. We'll start with this. We'll go into our object library. We'll select this part. We'll say OK. Pop it in. It's going to give us all of our automatic features already. And we're just going to go and nest it right onto the table. We already know, though, that however it positions it on the table, this doesn't work for us because we know we have a 20 by 16 area in here that we can't use. So we're just going to take the part and drag it up. Simple as that. Now, is it far enough up? We're going to go from here to here, and that's 22 inches, so that's good. So it's above that 20-inch range that we already made for it, but I don't want it that far out in the sheet. I want to put it kind of over towards the edge to kind of utilize our material somewhat, and we're just going to call that good. That's one way we can manually put parts on the table exactly where we need them to be based off of the sheet that we have that we're using. Now, obviously, if I wanted to make more than one, I can do that. I can just click, copy, or right-click, copy, and we're going to copy one, and we're going to move. We're not going to move in Y. We're going to move in X, whatever the length of this part is. Doesn't really matter. We can just say 6. Oh, I put in more than one, didn't I? And there you go. And now we've got 3, if we wanted to make 3 on the table. But again, I want to utilize this material as much as possible. So I'm just going to go and stick this one up there, making sure that my pierce isn't on my edge. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Stick it right in there. Make sure that my pierce isn't anywhere near the edge. You can probably move it in a little closer. There we go. And I'll double check that I didn't get too far down. I don't want to scrap a part here. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to scrap anything. I want to make sure that we are 20 inches away from the edge. 22 inches still. Okay, that's perfect. We could really just go and draw a fixed size square that's 22 inches from here to here. Not going to let me do it inside the table, but I could have done it over in another object and put that on the table. Let's do that real quick just so you can see how that's done. I'll go new object. Here we go. I'll say it's 22 inches. There's our square. Easy enough. And then we'll go and nest it onto the table, but I'm going to say yes. I want to keep what's currently on the table there. It's going to just throw that square in the lower right hand or lower left hand corner. There it is. I tried to nest one more of these. I can just delete that and get that off of there. Now we can see visually what our 22 by 22 inch area is that we can't use, and we would know how to put these around it if we wanted to do it that way. And then of course when we go to run it, we can just ignore that part and tell it to start running it from right here. Restart cutting from that entity, restart cutting for dry run if we wanted to make sure it's moving where we wanted it to. And we can skip this one completely. Or, better yet, once we've visually placed our parts on the table, we can just delete that one and not have to worry about that at all. Now you can just run your program and off you go. And that is manual nesting. Well, there's one more thing we can do. If we really wanted to, we could play around with this a little bit. We can still move this guy around. But we can also rotate him 90 degrees. Move that guy around too if you want to. So, any way that you could think of in terms of placing these parts on the table is available by just selecting the part, right-clicking, rotate, mirror, copy, the whole 9 yards. That is manual nesting in a nutshell.